Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you guys for tuning in to TFG, the Financial Griot, here where we discuss different money stories, journeys, but as well as everything in between, different topics. So appreciative that you're here tuning in, subscribing, liking to this podcast. So my name is Alanta. I'm gonna give my co-host an opportunity to introduce themselves.
Hey,
Lovely.
everybody. It's Lovely Mardellis. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode. We're excited to talk about this because we're going to talk about the monies. And I hope you guys are having a good day and good evening wherever you're listening.
Hey everybody, my name is Lawrence Gonzalez. Oh, I always messed that up. My name is Lawrence Delva-Gonzalez. I just got married back in November, which is not just, but still. I also go by the neighborhood finance guy on internet, the websites, the IGs, the other stuff. So, we talk about money all the time. And this is why we have the financial griot. It's more than just a conversation of the budgeting aspect, the cash aspect, but it's really about stories that we can share amongst ourselves, answering different questions, and hopefully changing the lives of different people along the way.
Yeah. I love you. I always love your intro, especially Lovely. You guys always catch me.
You
I'm doing
probably looking
intro.
real sloppy, trying to make you look
I'm
real
doing intro.
bad.
Whatnot. Anyways, anywho, so today is really cool because we're going to discuss the next net max plan. Did
For
anyone tell you it's
years,
like a tongue twister?
the net max plan. Oh my goodness!
Net max plan.
Yeah.
Net max plan. So this is a plan that's been created by the neighborhood finance guy himself, Lawrence Delva Gonzalez. He's been in trenches with this too because you've been actually along with this journey doing this, sharing it with other people, and I've been a grand result of utilizing the net max plan. You want to talk about a little bit of that plan because there are different formulas to it as well, but it's all in the matter of where you are.
Yeah. I think well, when he started off way back in 2012, and I was kind of struggling with money and all that good stuff, and I wanted to figure out how to manage my money better. I was in a car, and I literally said, like, it was raining. It was one of those cars that had to roll down the window, and I didn't have the good AC in Florida, so you get a little bit of rain hitting you in the face at the same time.
Yeah.
And I had to go to an interview, and I said, "Hey, God, if I get this job, I will do better with my money." That was literally my statement. It was like, I was, when you're like really tired, you're just frustrated, your anxiety to the life, you're at your wits end. And at that point, I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'll do whatever, man. I'll take whatever job that comes next. And then the job that came opportunity wise was making $23,000 before taxes. So basically, every month I was bringing in about $1,000. Maybe 1,100 or something like that. So it's pretty much that's all I had to work with. And on top of that, Florida, deemed fit to pay me once a month. It was a monthly payment. Like you had to really make this thing stretch the entirety of the month. So I learned throughout the process kind of what is generally known as the financial order of operations, in which you understand how your money moves, works, shapes, and you're creating and curating a plan that really could help people move from zero to $1 million in less than 15 years. That was the theory then. I said that to friends, I said that to family members, and people laughed at me. And only one person actually took me, for the theory. He's like, you know what? Tell me more about your theory for free, though.
For free.
Yeah, it's like for free. What do you mean by this? And she'll hit me up all the time. So that's exactly what you did. You continually hit me up, and it helped me refine just trying to explain this a lot more to different people because it really works. It's something that I ended up drafting into different LinkedIn articles. I made a PDF about it. I made a resource, eventually made a website, got featured on Business Insider because my net worth went from negative 125,000 to over 500,000 and on the way to the $1 million net worth. So by the time that people really figure it out, that I figured it out, I'll be a millionaire. So about 2 more years, people will be like, what was the net max plan? Can you tell me, whatever? But all of it is always available and it's for free on the website. It's literally a way to move and shape. Go ahead.
The website will be where? In the show notes.
Oh, yeah, in the show notes. Are you gonna do the show note thing again?
FinanceGuy.com where making money makes sense. Where money makes sense.
Yes, where making money makes sense. The neighborhoodfinanceguy.com, the entire word all the way through. In the resource section, you can click on it. It's free, and I've actually made some that with other people as well. So I made one because I made one for myself when I was single at the time, and somebody that was a mom. She's like, "Hey, do you have a plan for me?" So I worked with her to devise a plan that could work for single moms or single dads. I also made a plan for couples. I worked with a couple that based on their experiences having like 4 or 5 kids. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna need to know what you do to make your money make sense. And I've also created one for people that are over 50. So I call it, the platinum one. So there's a lot of different ways to turn this thing around, but ultimately, it's about having a smart plan. Smart being the specific, measurable, attainable, relatable, and as well as timely. So you're creating a plan with your goals, with your aspirations built in. That's not going to strain you out, and that's not going to make you feel like a budget is some kind of like noose around your neck. That's not what this is. This is a good time. I love the experience. Like, Atlanta, you're not seeing her, her face, but every time she thinks about her journey, she smiles because it hasn't been that bad. It literally
the glow is real. No makeup.
The glow.
It has not been that bad. You just change a few things, and lo and behold, your life kind of gets better. So
that's
for
good.
me, I'll say that when I say I'm like forever grateful because I got you to kind of share this knowledge and everything when you was free. let's put it out there, free, not anymore. But I'm forever grateful because not only I was able to witness your journey, but you was able to witness my journey as well, just by utilizing the knowledge and just practical things. I think also too, when people think about all these plans and having these measurable guidance and things that you need to kind of hit those benchmarks, for me, it became a little overwhelming, especially when I really got deep into personal finance. It's like, you just look everywhere and just so much information. But the thing I really like about your plan, the net max plan, is that it's constantly redefined, right? Because you mentioned about the single mother, you mentioned about single parents, you mentioned about even, people are entering or looking more into retirement, and 50-year-olds, the platinum plan is continuously being defined. It's not like all to be, at the end of everything. It's constantly changing because you're at different stages of your life. So your finance has to adjust with you or where you are. And that's one of the things that I love. But one of the, I guess, aha for me was the taxes. I can say what and get how much. So that was really my thing of just saving so much on taxes, is like the adjustable gross income. I still remember that conversation we had. I was living in Boynton, and I think Lawrence was telling me this like 3 times, just different ways. I'm like, I don't get it. What do you mean? I don't get it.
I'm gonna have to call you again.
And I called you again about it because I looked it up, and I'm trying to understand it in a way that Atlanta can process this information. So when I first did it, I'm like, okay, put more money in my retirement. But I'm like, I need this money. Like, I don't make that much. I was making like 40, 42, 45,000 that year. That time. But when I realized that I can actually save money, put in my retirement account, as well as get more money on the back end for taxes on my tax return, I'm like, bruh, this is what wealthy people do. Like, yeah, there's like securing the bag and putting in these investment vehicles that not only grow their money, but they're getting the refund at the end of the year as well, because they're securing those money in those accounts. So for me, it was really that aha moment when I realized that, okay, I'm young. If I continuously to do this, then I can grow into, more prospects and different options of what to do. And post that conversation, 3-4 years later, I'm now in my first home. Whereas I'm looking to next year or maybe in 2023, looking for an investment property. So it for me, it was really that security. The security. I'm a Cancer. I'm always in my emo. I always like stability. I like stability. I like to know where my money is going, how it's working for me, and how can I optimize my money even more. And I think the net max plan optimize. Once you're on autopilot, it's just like you're chilling. Like you know where your money is going, how it's working in your benefit, and how you can use that money too to grow your assets. Because I think when you look at other quote unquote financial gurus out there, it's just like one specific plan. You have to pay off your debt. You have to, make sure you're not using credit cards. And that's for me, it's just not practical. It's not. Like I had to have good credit to get a home. I had to have good credit to get a car. Even credit to get my job as an analyst. So it's credit is a huge thing and a huge factor to kind of give you access to wealth, right? So I really feel like appreciative of Lauren's plan because it's brought me to this point. So I have created my own plan in moving forward of how I want my life to look. Like this is my rich life and it's only gonna get even richer as time progresses.
Well, thank you, Alana. I think that was a good summary of your experience with the NetMax. And for those who are listening, Lawrence, I think it's going to be imperative that we kind of say like what I know step one is to know your net worth, right? That's step one. That's on the list. First line item. I want you to kind of go through like Alana mentioned like tax advantages. She mentioned optimizing. She mentioned credit card, but like, okay, wait. My finances is all over the place. What's going on? I'm a listener. I'm trying to get my things together. Where do I start step one? And I'm gonna just let you write out and let us know where do we start?
Well, whereas on the website, you can actually go to a resource page and you see the NetMax plans and each of them are spelled out and like you could read through it narratively. And there's also at the end, there's like a short list. Like I think at the end of each of them, there's like a PDF short list of how it's supposed to look and how it's supposed to kind of, you could print it out and just kind of go for it from there. But ultimately, like Alana said, it's not an end all be all type of plan. It's not that, this thing is going to guarantee you riches beyond your dreams. It's not some aspirational thing. It's truly teaching people what financial literacy means, how to manage their money better, how to invest, and how to make decisions, and how to understand that they have the power to choose. We all have the power to choose in this day and age in 2021, how we live, how we function, how we operate, how we move in life. And because of it, all it does is that at every step, you're learning something more about yourself, or you basically unveiling that level of mystery. So in step number one, it says, know your net worth. 9 times out of 10, anybody that rich knows exactly what their net worth is. If you don't know your net worth, 9 times out of 10, you're not rich. And it is what it is. We need to take that adequate assessment of our own personal numbers, as well as our own issues as well within those numbers. So for example, you don't know if you have a traveling problem. You don't know if you have like a grocery, or food or going out problem if you're not really reviewing, what your numbers are on average per month. It might even surprise you. 9 times out of 10, especially on the food category, people are shocked. Like they're paying like, hey, in a family of two adult people are paying $800 a month. You're like, how? And that's when those type of shockers hit you. Is like, maybe we're overeating, maybe we're overspending on the food. And maybe that's where a lot of our money is going away. So when you start cutting that off, you start realizing, or you start pulling back on what's just random that you're doing. You start realizing you have a little bit more money to fulfill your own dreams. And that's what the whole goal of step number one is, knowing your net worth and where it starts, so you're not hiding away from it. The second one is develop a personal budget. I know as much as this is a bad word in a lot of people, the B word, budgeting, but ultimately you just need to engage in a lifestyle that is balanced and fair for you. It has nothing to do with my personal lifestyle. It comes down to what's important to you. One friend of mine, she loved to go out to eat. And I told her, like, for whatever it's worth, you can definitely move things around in your budget to allow you to do that to the apex level. Not just go out to eat to your favorite restaurant. Know the owner. Go there to the point where the owner knows you. You walk in and you're having a whole different experience at that level. So it's an opportunity to really change your budget, monthly spending coming in and out, to add something more valuable and make connections in your life that really makes sense. Another one is to have a starter emergency savings. And obviously, everybody needs to have an emergency savings somewhere, and ultimately not having too much money in it because you're losing value based off inflation. A lot of banks are offering 0.01%, based off of the growth, while inflation is nearing, at least it peaked like 5% at one point, or on average is like 3%. So you're losing money all the time. So understanding that having an emergency saving is good, having too much money in it, it might be problematic for you, and knowing the difference. The next one in there is like find a healthy budget, a healthy hobby. So it has almost nothing to do with money right there. It's just you realizing what you really want to do. For me, going to happy hours wasn't making me happy. I actually find joy writing or playing video games at home. So I'm doing things that are intentionally beneficial to me on an emotional, physical, or spiritual level, and it's adding to me more than it's detracting. At some point in our life, we started thinking that anything with joy was associated with money, either spending money. So in essence, number 4 is trying to reteach people that there's also other things you can do that can add a lot of value to you without actually taking away from you all the time. Like even biking, people are cycling more, people are running more, people are hanging out with friends playing dominoes. These are things that are healthy things you can do that's not draining your bank account. Another part is focusing on your debt. So it's 16 steps up in this thing, but it's every step itself is spelled out to teach people what is the point. Why do even people say this stuff like pay down your credit card debt? Because it's taxing you. It's taking so much money from you every damn time. That same money you could be using on you. Like let's say if you're paying the credit card $100 worth of interest every month, that's $100 you could have been spending on your hair care or going to the movies or maybe stacking that up and taking a trip. All of this is something that can be avoided, but without proper knowledge of it, people are just going into it blindly. Then we have, making sure you're doing your 401k, your IRA, your HSAs, and all of this. If you're doing it correctly, you could be bringing in, investing as much as $30,000 a year. And that's going to put you on the path to be a millionaire, an automatic millionaire in about 15 years or less. That's it. Even if you stop right then and there, after that, you buy there's examples how you can buy a condo that's 30% less than your take-home pay, how you can actually get into high interest savings. Maybe that's kind of changed a little bit. Invest in stocks, diversifying, saving for your children's future, paying off investment property, paying down your student loan debt, building wealth. All of this is just a framework to let people know, kind of like playing bumper cards. We just have a frame. After that, you could go wherever you want to go in that circle, but ultimately you have a frame. And that's what the Net Max plan is all about. It's a lot. It ain't simple. It ain't no baby steps. I said what I said. It's not no baby steps, but it's an adult-oriented, focus-driven. It's supposed to open your life and open your mind and open yourself to yourself. If that makes sense. It's deep.
It does. What do you think? Because I know you take on clients as well. What do you think is one of the main things people struggle with?
One of the main things people struggle with is I think a lot of people never want to take accountability for their actions in the past. For whatever reason, it pains a lot of people on the emotional level to know that they might be the instrument of their own demise. I don't think anybody in the history of man ever likes to feel that way, that they could have done something differently. And that's why the first step is in knowing your net worth and assessing the issue points in the past and really making peace with them. It's forgiving yourself for things that you couldn't, at the time. Hey, maybe you were balling out in college and you ended up, like me, getting a lot of student loan debt. Maybe you're traveling too much and your credit card spending went a little bit above what you expected. All of that is just, hey, we are flawed. We are human beings. And once you kind of address it, you nod it. And some people even cried afterwards when I talked to them about it. And they're like, they literally cried. They come back. It's like, hey, I literally had to let go of this so they can actually move forward. So it's all in our heads as to how we assess the problems we have and how to let it go so we can move forward.
Yeah, that's a huge one. That's a huge one because I know a lot of my money was going to, at the time, traveling and food. Traveling, food in my apartment. I had a beautiful, I mentioned this before, I had a beautiful 1 bedroom and 1 extra semi-bedroom. I don't know what you call that, corridor. I'm not sure what's it called, but it was, I used that as my office, but it was a beautiful condo in Boynton Beach. And I couldn't afford it within my salary. I think I was paying 1250 or 1300 after like the water expenses and everything, right? So I was spending too much money into that, too much money into traveling, and it plays a role because my job consists of traveling. I was working remote for a few years, and I was traveling on my personal time as well. So I spent majority of my time outside of this beautiful condo. So I didn't understand why I was spending so much money into this place. I was barely even there. I think at some point, one of my friends, I was gone for a few weeks, still working, but I was gone. And he's like, "Hey, I don't want to make this drive up, to North Florida. Can I crash?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm never home." He was there. I think he was there more than I was at some point, right? Honestly,
your name was hardly ever home.
My name, I had a brand where, my name was Miss Hardly Ever Home, because at that point I was really never home. But I value traveling. I value friendships, relationships. I try to sustain and nurture. And I just love being out. At that point, I really enjoyed being out, but I had to take a good look at myself to understand that when you come to the point where you're financing clothes, taking out personal loans to pay off your credit card, then yeah, that's a little bit too much. I had to take accountability to say that, okay, this is a problem. And I'm not fulfilling, the things that I need to fulfill and the goals that I want to do if I am counteracting those things with traveling, housing, and not really taking up the measures of what I need to do to push forward. Because, we had that conversation. I was like, nah, this ain't right. I don't think this much. I don't think they're assessing it.
Yeah, you were mad at yourself. You're like, those numbers ain't right. The math doesn't add up.
I don't add up. I'm like, no, because what happened was making these excuses for myself. I'm like, but I have money. But what I was doing, and this is, real transparency, is I was robbing Peter to pay Paul every month. Every month, like I used to kind of like, play Russian roulette a bit. Who's gonna pay this month? Like, what credit card balance can I pay for? But I had to kind of assess myself to say that this is not the life I want to live. We spoke about this in the past about curating the rich life. So I had a rich life, but in my detriment, I was accumulating so much debt because of this rich life that I thought I wanted, right? So for me, assessing and really taking accountability for yourself is really important, because how can you move forward if you're stuck on, current things that are not beneficial to you? So we can't, assess the past things anymore. We have to kind of move forward, acknowledge it, of those wrongdoings and those decisions, and see how can I do better. And for me, I acknowledge it. I kind of, cursed out Lawrence a few times in my own snappy way, and I move forward. That's really what I can do. And I'm always assessing myself to say that my plans and my goals will always be in touch with my money. Always. No matter what I like, no matter what I do, where I am, it always going to be in touch with my money as well. So I do agree that is the hardest part. Is your net worth. What do you think in terms of like where you are in your life? Because I know some people may be into, the emergency savings right now. With COVID and the pandemic, a lot of people lost their jobs. I was in one of those people who lost their jobs as well. So some people feel as though like cash is king. You're telling people, at some point you can't have too much money. It's problematic. So what's your take on that?
Oh, the take is very simple, and I get it. I think when we come from a position where we didn't have a lot of money to begin with, growing up, at least I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't go anywhere for summer vacations, came and went, and I wasn't at the crib. I had a couch, I had the TV, and that was the extent of it. I had outside. Back when we outside meant we went outside and we just kind of like, we did things and we came back at a certain time to get some food. That was basically it. So I understand the limiting beliefs that we have in our heads in regards to what can happen next. But at the same time, I think the problem is the amount of that disparity. If you understood that $100 or $1,000 into your account, right? 1,000, you think it's there and it's there when you know at the bank account, you're like, okay, I still always there. I'm safe. I'm structured. But the same $1,000 that you had this year in 5 years from now won't be able to buy, $1,000 worth of stuff anymore. That money is going to change. And you don't have to be a mathematician to understand this. Like, go to the grocery store. Remember back in the day when your grandma gave you like $20 to go get some groceries and you brought back groceries? Now $20 brought you, maybe get you 3 items, if you're lucky. If you bought that life, like you feel a little
even the power of $1, because I don't know if you guys remember, we all from around the way from some form of hood, right, in South Florida. Even the power of $1, I still remember where you can buy at least 4 to 5 things in one of those convenience stores, like little snacks.
Yeah.
For $1. But now you can't do that anymore.
Blow pop was 25 cents. Now I think it went up to like 35. No, it was 25 cents. It went up to 35, and I think it might be 50 cents now. So there's always something that's shifting in price, except Arizona tea. For some reason, it's still $1. Made no sense. Please explain that to me in life.
I don't know why
it's recession proof. I don't know how they make their money. I don't know what's going on, but ultimately, there is this idea that if you keep money in the bank account, you'll be fine, but ultimately you're losing the value of your money. So that $1,000 is probably really worth $998. It looks like 1,000, but it's really can only buy maybe less, and over time it just erodes itself. And by the time you pull out the $1,000 20 years from now, it might be just really could buy you $500 worth of stuff. And that's the problem, how we think and process money, versus if you invested it, you'd probably have, $3 grand, $4 grand, $5 grand. So your money would actually added upon itself. So you need to understand where your money is going so that it's not just losing value to inflation, versus you're putting your money somewhere else so it can grow and you can move and it can shake. Having too much money is in the bank is like having a kid on a couch, just sitting there all the time, like a vegetable. Not gaining anything, not bringing you any money, not doing a damn thing, just losing time and losing value. So I'd rather have, whatever I have money-wise out there, bringing in more money and more opportunities.
What do you say is the minimum amount of money to have in your emergency savings?
Now I updated the Net Max plan the last couple of years to actually say that for every adult, I believe you should have for every adult in your household, you should probably have $2,500 for emergency. And obviously, bygones is bygone. There's some money that you're never gonna get all the time, but having that quote unquote peace of mind for some people is paramount. At the same time, it's also an opportunity fund. So it's not just an emergency, but it's also an opportunity. So let's say if you have 2,500 and the market goes down 30%, you might decide to take 1,500 of that and just invest it and make more money right then and there, because you're buying when it's low and you're getting in at the down point. So having, let's say, a family of 4, 2 parents, 2 adults, that's 2,500 each. So that's $5 grand for every kid. I think you can have at the max, $5,000, depending on the kid, depending on what age they are, depending on your, temperament. But ultimately, a family of 4, you're looking at $15,000 of opportunity fund right then and there. So you could always kind of pull out the 10 grand, invest that sucker while the market is low, make it move for you, make it go somewhere that it's supposed to go. And then you could keep replenishing your emergency or opportunity fund. So you have to start thinking about that in a different light, so you can actually make your money do more for you, and also have a strategy behind it as well. Maybe you have the 15, but you're not just giving it to your friends and family. That's another thing about having too much cash in a checking and savings. When your friends say, "Hey, can I borrow $20?" You look at your checking, you're you're like, "Yeah, I have money too. Here's 40, bro." Like, la, da, 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 da. And next thing you know, you end up more and more broke for it. So at least for me, it's been beneficial not having enough money in checking and saving, because nobody can really ask me for money because I don't got it. I don't got it. I wish I could help you, but I don't have no real money.
It's funny enough that you mentioned about the investments as well, because I know people are very afraid to invest, where it's almost like I'm not sure what's the term, something about the mattress effect, where back in the day, more people didn't have access to banks. It's the mattress effect.
No,
That's
it's
what it's
pretty
called?
much like it's not, but it's essentially it's just like there's a fear of banking based off the
Right.
views of the institutions and just how they were before. And I think another thing that people need to realize is that times are changing. Like you have Google that you can actually research and learn like exactly. I know Lawrence is always talking about M1 finance and they like these things are decentralized now, right? Before you literally had to trust this banker and put this trust that this financial advisor is telling you the right things. And a lot of people got burned, even through like the housing stuff that happened like 10 years ago. People were getting burnt because they were getting wrong information. But today you have the capacity to learn. And I think what's really important is, and even this plan that you can critique it and make it, tweak it for where you are in life. Somebody that's doing is in one level of their life, it may not work completely for them, but you need to learn to find what works and doesn't. And I think it's been easier for people to just say, I want to be debt free. I'm going to hoard this cash. I'm going to put it in this box. And if my house burned down, the money going down with it too. But I know that I don't trust the banks. And it's like, well, they're insured. So if each of these banks have like FDIC, they make sure they're insured, but you have to have information. But just on the bare bones of finances, I think when it comes to just hoarding the cash, it's also from scarcity. Because if you've had money trauma and if you lost, I think that was one of the hardest things for me was like when you didn't have anything, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to make a mistake. Because I know before I was making a lot of mistakes, right? Like I was like, oh my goodness. So when you start to have a certain amount of money coming in, you're looking at it like, oh, if I put in this thing, it's gonna, I may lose it and I have to go back to my old lifestyle. So there's fear, but what you can do with your fear is educate yourself. There's these things that are online. The neighborhoodfinanceguy.com has a plethora, and I mean a plethora of information that you can walk through for free. So I don't know if Lawrence is going to let you talk to him for 3 hours. It just depends. If you catch him on Clubhouse on Saturday, he just might.
Yeah, he
just might. But for the most part, there is a place that you can start. Starting is awareness. I know that I have a problem. I know that something's not working. I need to change my habits. But another thing I would say is once you have awareness, you also then have to reformat your environment. If you're with people all the time that are spending money on, not talking about investing, Atlanta said she had to talk to Lawrence 3 times about one concept of money, right?
Yeah.
But that's because her environment was like, okay, I know I can get Lawrence on the phone, but if you can't get a Lawrence on the phone, you might want to check your crew, right? You might want to say, hey, how do I plug myself into where money conversations are happening? I remember first time getting into, especially with the tech companies, right? And they're talking about raising funds. And when somebody literally said, hey, that company doesn't really want $50 million from us. They just they don't really care if it has, that the company will have returns. I looked around and said, wait a minute. What do you have to say? That you can lose $50 million trying a business idea and then nobody's going to like come after you. And then that also opened my eyes to a whole different level of money concept. Like my fear of losing $50,000 or someone losing 50 million is not a problem. And I'm like, wait, there's levels to this money concept, and being exposed to that made me realize, well, if you're scared to invest 50,000, you're scared to invest 10,000, how will you ever get to the point where $50 million becomes like it's a wash, because we're dealing in trillions, we're dealing with billions, we're dealing with numbers that are super crazy. And like Apple, for example, it's a company. Apple's like amount of money that they make is the GDP of Denmark, like a whole country. And that's crazy to me. And so concept of money is being exposed to more things. So we might be talking about, I know Lauren said 30,000 a year, and you probably had a heart attack. Like, oh, what are you talking about? $30,000 to give to who?
Hey, I started off my first investment. I was like, I think everybody's first investment, you about to invest $100 and you're like, I don't know. You make it such a big deal, because for at least for me, I was like, it's gotta be, I'm gonna press this button and I might lose it all. And now, I'm investing upwards to like $6,000 a month or something like that, or almost $7,000 a month. And I don't lose sleep on it. And sometimes the money do drop. Like this last month, the money, I think my investments went down like $10,000 or something. But at the same time, earlier that month, they went up $12,000. So it's always an interesting scenario. Now, me and my wife, we have like we're almost at $500,000 in investments. And it's crazy. You're like, whoa, back in the day, that wasn't the thing at all. We never had this level of money. Never, and now it's just an easy thing, and it's just about like going for it, moving forward. I remember when Atlanta was about to invest, like, should I invest? I'm about to put
The Disney one,
$200,
yeah. I was like,
$50 in here. So I'm like, just get it over with. Like, I don't know, I have $50.
it's the anticipation. I'll say this: it's really the anticipation because with me, you're seeing your fixed amount in the savings. Like, this is my money I have. It does not change slightly, 0.0.1, who knows, whatever, right? Like, I know I have this lump sum of money, but when being introduced to the stock market, it changes every day. It changes. And for me, like, losing like $200, losing $300, I'm like, Lawrence, this vital, like, I can't do it. Like, I was nervous. I'm like, this is
you're like, hey, my money just dropped. I hate you.
I was so afraid. I'm like, because when Lovely mentioning about the scarcity mindset, because I'm like, I'm not losing this, but you know how much work I did for this money, So, but I think the earlier that you do it, when you're introduced to the stock market, the better. Because when you're much older, you're doing into stock market, the scarcity mindset almost, where it's like people are really too afraid to move their money and to invest, because once they see it drops. I had a friend, like, they seen it drop, they just took their money out. I was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore, right? Because there's this thing where you feel like you're losing all this money, but I don't think we entertain the fact that you're gaining money too. Like, you are actually putting money into the market, but it is gaining money. You lose, but you're gaining so much more. And that's the mindset I had to create. Yeah. Earlier this month, not looking good for the sister on my brokerage account.
Oh, but yeah.
However, not looking good. I had to kind of delete that, the app a bit, give me a breather. I really did, but give me a breather. But I had to understand is that, with the stock market, it just goes up and down. That's the way it is. But for the most part, it goes up, and it will go up. And that's the thing that people have to remember. But I was afraid. Like, you couldn't tell me that was $200.
Best analogy about the stock market is like walking up a mountain with a yo-yo. So as your yo-yo drops up and down, but you're still going up that mountain no matter what, and at some point it's still going up.
Still walking, right?
Yeah.
You're still walking up. So it is a fear factor of it all. How do you feel like, Lawrence, with your clients? How do you feel like you get them through that hump? It took a bit for me to even invest that much money in my first stock in Disney. Much money.
There's a lot of people that I helped in 2020, but 2020 was a different year in which you could get in and your money is going to go up. So I think a lot of people, when they got in 2020, they felt really good about it. And it was kind of easier to move that, because any day now, if you could drop your money in there, it could just go down the next day. It just automatically go down. Another thing that I did, even with my mom recently, is like I invested $100 for her, but that $100 investment, with M1 at the time, gave her additional $50 because M1 is doing a promotional thing. So she's getting the return of $50 that if she left $100 in the bank savings account, it would have took her, I believe the money was like 4,000 years to get to 150. So she instantly, like a week or so, she made that profit that would have taken her with the same $100 in the bank savings account at 0.01%, 4,000 years to get there. So there is some joys when the market goes down and there's an opportunity. I generally try to, encourage people. It's okay to jump in right now, test the waters, let yourself go into it, and you start noticing the more and more you invest, the better it's going to be for you. And it's never easy for anybody. It wasn't easy for me. I did the same feeling, the same, like, I don't know, I'm working for this money. But then when you realize, like you said, Atlanta, like if you invest in your 401k, your IRA, your HSA, and they're either decreasing the taxes that you owe in the back end and you're getting more refund, you're like, oh, I could play this game. I'm about this life because I'm going to pay this tax anyways. Why not make this money work for me? And a lot of people are neglecting their employer plans to do the stuff that they see on TV, Bitcoins and whatever. But look, your employer, sometimes they're giving you a match. That's 100% increase right then and there. In the 401k, 43B or 457B, your IRA out here. You could get a Roth that's tax-free contribution for the rest of your life. So you could literally contribute your money and this tax-free growth all the way through, and this tax-free, when you withdraw it. So there's all these little things we can use to get us to where we need to go, to be in where we need to go.
Yeah, and another thing too, I had to come to realize is that I'm already investing, even though I wasn't choosing the stocks at that time individually. Is I was investing into my 401k, my HSA. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing this already. Let me just refine the idea of me just having more control in managing the stocks. Because that first 2K in that Disney stock, I was on the phone with you for a minute, and I'm going back and forth on this. But I'm just like, how can I get over that hump to get me where I want to be, in terms of my goals and everything? I have to take the risks, because if it's just sitting in the account, it's not, like you said, it's a kid on the couch, it's not doing anything. How can I really help my money to work for me? So I have to kind of place those in those vehicles so it can grow over time. And they're risks, yeah, it can be risky, but it's also a risk of not doing anything at all too. So that was really my take when it comes to investing. It's like, yeah, there are risks, but most millionaires and stuff take risks to get them to the point they are now. And these are just small risks we're talking about. We're not talking about trillions of dollars of other risks. Like, these are just small risks that you're able to take, but your money is constantly working for you.
Yeah, and I also think that for sure that inaction just leads you to actually have more adverse situations. Like Lauren just said, $100 to get it to that 150, 4,000 years.
Yeah.
Sure. And it's like, yeah, sure. The numbers are the numbers. And when you start, you have to look at the left side and the right side and kind of compare. And one of the things that I always do, even when I'm doing business analysis for our companies or other people's companies, I look at the potential of what is. These are the facts. Right now, you might have 2,000, 3,000, 20,000 in your bank account sitting there, and your checks and your savings or whatever else. And you have a reverse of, am I doing investment to get a quick return? No, I'm actually doing it for long term. Let's just go look at the historical data. Let's go see, how did the market perform? What is the historical data telling us? Oh, okay, well, I see that this thing's been around for a really long time. People have been able to make progress doing this. And so now I have the information that tells me doing something differently might give me a different outcome. So you might start off with $100, then you pay attention to that for a month or two, and then you're like, oh, okay, let me do this. But it's flexing a muscle. Like, if I go to the gym and the first time I do the curl up, it's not going to feel good, right? But then a couple of weeks of doing it, a couple of months of doing it, I pass by the mirror and I'm like, okay, I see something going on back there. It motivates you. So I think definitely I would say actionably, if you do not, and we'll make sure that we put this, I think Lawrence have that M1 link somewhere that he can send, and we'll put it in the show notes so that you can start somewhere. Even if it's like, I'm committing to do $100, I'm committing to do it. And Lawrence also has do you have an article about M1? I'm pretty sure you do, on the neighborhood finance.
Actually, I don't know. I have some articles that talk about them, but I don't have a specific one. I don't have a specific one breaking it down, because I think that'll be important to do. On his schedule
today, Lauren's gonna write an article
so much
about M1. Yeah, I don't know when, but by the time this is out, you'll have it. The article will be ready, and you can literally just go to that article, see the instructions of how to get started. He also has like those little pie chart, those graphs that are kind of pre-made, preset. He can give you those feedback on what that means. And my suggestion to you is start somewhere. I'm going to say that again, start somewhere, because not starting at all, doing nada, like not doing anything, literally leaves you not in the same place, but it actually makes you go backwards. So I would suggest, you heard all these things, whether it's checking into your network, which I don't know if we mentioned this, but checking into your network, you can use Mint, you can use Personal Capital, which is, again, there's a specific, I know he has links for those on his website for sure. Get those steps in and really make the decision today. Like, if you're listening to this and you've been stressed about money, you're stressed about how you're going to pay bills, you're stressed about all these different things, you have to actually look at your situation. Look at yourself. Do I need to get certifications to change my type of job that I have? What next steps do I have to take? Because some people, doesn't matter where you are today, if you take steps and actions and make a difference, you'll come back like Atlanta 5 years from now said, I was listening to this financial griot podcast and these, young millennial people talking about money, talking about all these things. And they told me to go to this neighborhood finance guy. And I actually went to go look at it. And it started to actually make sense. And I took action. And 5 years later, I'm out of debt, or I'm, getting my debt decreased. I have a home. I've increased my net worth. My savings for my children are not just in a regular bank account, but I have a 529 plan or whatever else you come up with. You're going to look back and say, that moment that I decided to not sit down and not take action changed my life. And it sounds like I'm making a bold statement, right? Like to change your life. But I really believe in it, because I think when we put ourselves in a position to say that life is just going to always be the same, we do a disservice to ourselves. So what I'm asking you today is, don't let's listen to the podcast. Like everyone knows me. If this is your first time listening, you don't. But if you've listened before, if it does not have actionable steps, you just got a whole bunch of knowledge. But if you do nothing with it, it didn't matter. I don't want you to waste your last hour sitting here learning about all this stuff. Take action. All the links will be in the show page. If you're listening in the car, when you get to your job, you be strolling on Instagram anyways. It's fine. Go ahead and click those links and do something productive.
Shade.
You felt that too. I was like, oh man, that's so powerful. People are trying to listen. People are probably on the drive right now. They're like, whoa.
But it was great, Lovely. It was great.
Yeah.
But
actionable steps.
Just a sprinkle a little shade in it.
Like, actionable steps. Yeah, that's true though. It's we do want everybody to actually move forward, because I know the first step, even like the first 10 step might be difficult. It might be confusing. You might not know what you're doing, and you might feel a certain way about it. Like emotionally, you're gonna be like calling your friends saying, "I don't know if I should have bet $100," but 5 years later, you're gonna notice that it made all the difference to actually get started and to actually move forward. Like I used to tell all my buddies the same thing back then, and some of them were making more money than I was, and I told them like, "Hey, there's a way, there's a strategy." And even to this day, they won't really share their net worth because it's actually still in the negative, because they didn't want to actually face the music and also work towards fixing it. So you have to take those actionable steps, because knowledge itself is nothing without the additional movement called kinetic energy. Without it, you do not have any flow. You don't have any rhythm. You don't have any blues. You don't have any happiness and any emotion in your life. So definitely just live. That's what I want people to do. Just live. And that's the whole point of the plan. With that said, I think I'm at the end of my ropes with that. And you can find me at the www.theneighborhoodfinanceguy.com. Yet again, it's www.theneighborhoodfinanceguy.com. If you don't trust me, Google my name, Lawrence Delva-Gonzalez, and you'll find that I've been on a lot of other podcasts, interviews, the news, whatever. It's about to be lit. I think a lot of people could really change the racial wealth gap, and it's going to be up to you to decide if we're going to get to that point or not.
Hey guys, so you can find me on the YouTube streets it's Atlanta, ALAINTA. Also on Instagram, my handler is it's Atlanta, so it's ITS_Atlanta, ALAINTA. On my YouTube, I like to naturalize money talk and discuss everything in between. But also make sure you guys like and subscribe on my YouTube channel, but also like and subscribe on TFG. We are discussing money journeys, money talk, but also really trying to build a community where we can decrease the racial wealth gap. It is possible, there's a way, and we're just showing the guidance to do so. What about you, Miss Lovely?
You guys can find me on Lovely Merdelis on IG. That's where you can connect with me. It's Lovely Merdelis. Again, they're on the show page notes. I promise you guys, we'll just add them. You can touch the links and it'll lead you directly to where you need to go. And of course, soon you'll be able to just put up the financial griot and you can get more information about us. I hope that you guys have a good day. I'm about to go work and be a productive member of society. And literally, if you got anything out of this podcast, I ask you to do one thing: leave us a review. The more reviews you leave, the more shares you have, somebody else can be impacted in their life, and we can make this gap a lot smaller if we so choose to. Whether you do it or not, we'll be doing it. So It is what it is. I hope you guys have a great weekend or day, wherever you are, week, whatever's going on. But thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to the Financial Griot podcast, powered by the Wealth Builders Collective.